All right, so we're gonna start on your back. We're gonna be working on, well, the theme is nature's pace. So we're working on slowing down, working on being present, and we're gonna work with some hamstring stuff. We started working on that last week, so we're gonna keep on working on that this week. All right, so go ahead and put you on mute. Okay. So we'll come onto your back, keep your strap within reach, and start to come into your breathing. And we'll focus on a slow breath. And the slow breath results in a deeper breath. We started talking about that too last week. So when you breathe really fast, it's not going to get into those deeper parts of your lungs. So if you soften the breath, slow the breath, we're going to get deeper down into the bottom of the lungs. And that's important because it's going to help us clear out, any kinds of irritants or pollutants or kind of bacterial things that maybe we're going to clear out. So let's go ahead and try and follow that inhale all the way in and all the way out. So nature has its own pace. We can't rush things in nature, right? So we can't make a flower bloom before it's ready to, or the petals will tear, right? We can't get the summer to come before it's ready to come. Nature follows its own pace. And I find that especially with more, let's say advanced styles of yoga, maybe not so much in somatics, but in more advanced styles of yoga, I see people being impatient with themselves, right? So I think we want to get that full pose, we want to be able to do everything, and we're not always patient with our bodies. But the same way as in nature, if we try to force the process of yoga, we may hurt ourselves, we may injure ourselves, and then we have a setback. So we want to be patient with ourselves and honor our bodies, honor where we're at. So I'm going to share a little reading before we get going. Patience in yoga. So this is about having patience. Often means learning to listen to the body's time. Just as a flower has its season to bloom and a fruit has its time to ripen, some things cannot be rushed. Patience requires trust in a greater power, a kind of faith that things are unfolding exactly as they are meant to, and that you are doing what you need to be doing. Fear is the opposite of patience. Just as fear is the root of many obstacles, if you worry whether or not you will ever succeed in a yoga pose, or if your dream will come true, then the type of practice and actions you engage in will often be somewhat incoherent or even slightly antagonistic. But if you operate from the paradigm of faith, then you have both the patience and the strength to wait with a full, happy, and expectant heart. Patience is one of the paramitas, and these are kind of principles to live by in Buddhism on the path to enlightenment. And there's a bunch of others like generosity, but patience is one of them. So by cultivating patience, we're on our way to enlightenment. So let's go ahead and take a full body stretch on your next inhale. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring right knee into the chest. Hold that right knee into the chest and extend the other leg as long as it'll go. So really lengthen through the left leg. And then let's switch. Inhale, full body stretch. Exhale, left knee in, and then lengthen that right leg as far forward as you can. And let's just go ahead and do a few rounds like that. We're starting to warm up the leg joints, the hip joints. And we'll do one more round on each side. moving with your breath and remembering to go slowly. Good. Okay, let's grab your strap. And we're going to take both legs up straight and put the feet in the strap. And you've got a little tail because you have a loop. So let the tail hang down towards you and hold inside the loop with both hands. Now, you might want to make that strap a little tighter depending on how it feels for you, or a little looser. Find a good spot. And then flex both feet gently. And then let's just hold there for a couple of breaths. Spread out through your toes, open the soles of your feet up, and just keep a slight micro bend in your knees so we're not jamming the knee joints. And then from here, we're going to do a couple rounds of micro bends. So we're going to bend the knees just a little bit, and then re-extend and push up through your heels. And then go ahead and do that a few rounds. Bend the knees just a little bit and push up. Okay. So micro bend is something we use a lot in somatic work, or micro movement rather, where we make it more subtle. And when we make things more subtle, we start to build that sense of safety and trust in our system, in our nervous system, and our tissues. And the body responds to that by maybe opening up a little bit more when it feels that sense of trust. One more. Okay. Now, take the tail in both hands and start to reach the tail over your head so that your arms are straight overhead and your legs are still up in that loop of the strap. And then hold it there for another breath or two. And that micro bend in the knees. And now we're going to keep the right foot in the strap and bring the left foot down to the ground. Hold it there, take an inhale, follow the exhale all the way out. And then if it's comfortable for you, we're going to straighten the left leg. So now both legs are straight. And then we're going to hold it there for a couple more breaths. And let's add in that little micro movement. So bend the right knee and slowly re-extend. And when you re-extend, try not to jam the knee. Think about pushing the heel up rather than pressing the knee forward. One more little bend and straighten. Good, and then we're going to switch. So we're going to bring that left foot up into the strap. Set the right foot flat for a moment. Arms are still overhead. And then eventually slide that right leg out. Both legs straight. Hold there for a breath. Exhale all the way out. And then a few rounds of micro bend. So bend and straighten. And you don't have to go all the way, so I'm not going to bring that foot all the way down. I'm just going to do a little micro bend. And if you want to, you can walk your hands up your strap if it's starting to get a little loose and you're not feeling anything in that back of the leg. I just walked my hands up the strap a little bit. All right. Now we're going to bring both legs back up into the strap and hold inside the loop again. Oh, my kitty wants my attention. Sorry, I gotta teach right now, Tinkerbell. Okay, so holding the strap in both hands, let's tighten the strap up a little bit if you can, so that that loop gets a little bit smaller. All right, now from here, we're gonna bend both knees. And this time, bring it all the way down, so we're not micro bending, we're bending all the way. And re-straighten, pushing up through your heels, and try not to lock out those knees. Let's do that 2 more rounds. Bend the knees, heels come all the way down, and then push the feet up. One more time. and then hold. So when it comes to hamstrings, the safest way to work on them is when you're on your back because it can really affect your lower back. Doing hamstring work seated is often the most challenging, so we save that for later in the practice. Okay, let's bend both knees, bring the heels down, and now let go of your left hand and start to roll to your right. Keep holding the strap, and you come over into a twist to the right. I'm just gonna move my block out of the way. And now from here, see if you could straighten your legs out to the side and then hold both ends of the strap in your hands. And you're almost like in a side forward fold. Push out through the heels. And if you can, legs are all the way straight. Now, hold on with just your right hand. Take your left arm up toward the ceiling and open into a twist. And really turn your belly into that twist. So belly's turning toward the left. And push out through your legs. One more breath. And then bring that left hand all the way back around. Rebend your knees. And come all the way back up to the center. And extend your legs up straight. Feel free to make any adjustments to your loop if you felt like it was too big or too small before we go to the other side. And then we're going to bend those knees again. Let go of your right hand. Take that out to the side. And then roll all the way over into the twist. And then you can hold the strap in both hands. Too close to my wall. And you can straighten your legs out to the side. All the way to the floor if you can. So I'm like a little too close to my wall, so I'm gonna do the best I can here. Flex the feet, and then you're gonna take your top arm, reach it up, and open it back into that twist and turn your belly to the right. Let's hold it there, another breath. And when you're ready, let's bring that arm back around to the strap. Bend your knees and come all the way back to center. And you can take your strap off and just give your knees a hug into your chest. Rock a little bit on your lower back. Okay. So now from here, coming into another somatic movement, drop your right knee out to the side like bound angle and tuck your foot behind your left heel. You're going to reach down with your left hand and see if you can hold your right foot. You might need to take that right thigh and scoot it a little over to the left. And then take your right arm overhead like a full body stretch. Okay, so we've done something similar to this before, but it's going to be a little different. We're going to take that left knee, drop it over to the right. Press your right thigh into the ground, arch your back, and look over to your left shoulder. Press your hips toward the right, and then come back to the start, and then the left leg extends up straight toward the ceiling, and then you're going to bring that left foot back down. So that's the pattern. Drop the knee over to the right, look to the left, arch your back. And so we're opening up the front of that right thigh. And then come back. And we open the back of the left thigh as we extend the leg straight up toward the ceiling. And let's repeat that. So a few more rounds. So one of the poses we're working toward tonight is the splits pose. Because for me, that's a pose where you got to be really patient. We try to rush into a split. We're going to tear our hamstring, just like if we tried to open that flower before it's ready. So we need patience. But in order to get the body prepared, we have to open up the back and the fronts of the legs so that we can make our way toward a split. And let's let this be the last one. And then let go of your right foot, come back to the center, both feet flat, even yourself out. And we may not get to that full pose. We're gonna just do the best we can and cultivate that patience with ourselves. Okay, let's try the other side. Drop the left knee out like bound angle. Bring that foot behind your right. Hold the left foot with your right hand and even kind of pull the thigh over a little bit. Take your left arm up into a full body stretch. And then right knee comes on top of the left. Press your hips forward. Look over your right shoulder and press your left thigh into the ground. As you come back, straighten your right leg up toward the ceiling. And then repeat. And remember to go slowly. We won't want to get into momentum. If we go too quickly, we start to lose our sense of mindfulness. And we get to be on autopilot, and then we're no longer feeling. And when we slow down in our yoga practice, we're feeling more. And the yogis say we need to feel it to heal it. So if we're going too fast through life or through our yoga practice and we're not feeling, we're not healing. Last one. Good. And then let's release. Bring both feet flat. Take a pause. Nice full breath in, full breath out. And let your back relax into the ground. A lot of studies show that everything has a different frequency. So the earth has its own frequency. And when we are on the ground, we connect to that frequency. Really important to get our feet on the ground, maybe outdoors in the grass, so we get that frequency of the earth, which is very healing. Okay, now we're gonna take both legs back up, no strap this time. I wore the wrong pants. My pants are very flowy, so I'm gonna have to show my legs. We're gonna flex the feet, and this is called slow burn. And we're gonna open the legs very slowly for about a minute or so, not yet. Bring them back up, I can see you. Okay, legs are straight up. When I say begin, we're gonna begin, and I'm gonna time you. So hold it there a second. I'm gonna grab my timer so that we're gonna take about 1 full minute to open the legs to the side, and then 1 full minute to bring the legs back up. So give me 1 second, I forgot to get this ready. All right. So legs straight up, a gentle flex to your feet, and begin to open the legs very slowly. And I'll tell you when you get to about 30 seconds, because then you should be about halfway. And it's very tempting to go right into that full openness, but I want you to slow it way down. Go a little bit at a time, and you're about halfway. So keep going. And if you get to the point where you're like, okay, that's as far as I can go, I want you to just hang out there for the full minute. Keep those feet flexed, reach out through your heels, and we're opening up the inner legs. When it comes to a split, if we're tight in the inner leg, that's gonna make it even harder to come into that split. Let's take about 1 more breath, and then we're about to that full expression. Good, and now we're gonna start to go back. So over the course of a minute, we're gonna come back to the center. So take that slow burn. You'll feel this a little more in those inner legs. Maybe there's a little shaking going on, that's okay. Almost halfway. Challenge yourself to go really slowly. That's about halfway right now. And notice how it feels to really slow down. For some of us, this can really create a lot of anxiety if we're used to going really fast through our practice or through our lives. And in that way, we distract ourselves from what we're feeling, keep ourselves busy so we don't have to feel. Okay, one more breath, and then we should be about up to vertical again. And then we'll release and hug those knees back in. A little rock on the lower back again. And then let's go ahead, come around up into a seated posture. So take your time, don't rush. Okay. All right, come into cross legs. And let's inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, slowly start to come forward. And as you come forward, let your sit bones draw back so we keep length through the lower back. And then take a gentle sway from side to side. Good, come back to center. Remember which leg you currently have in front. So mine's my right because we are gonna switch. You're gonna come up very slowly, take your time, and then open the legs out into that straddle position again. Point the toes and the knees up, and we're not gonna forward fold because when we forward fold too much in the beginning of practice, it can be a lot more demanding on the hamstrings. So we're gonna stay upright. And then inhale, reach your arms up. And we'll take a couple rounds of side bending to each side. And just keep it kind of mild. Don't worry about going into your deepest stretch right now. If you need to, you can always bend the knees. You can also be sitting up on a pillow or folded blanket to give your sit bones a little elevation here. Good, now bring both arms straight up and overhead. And then bring your hands behind you onto the floor. And then from here, push down into the floor, lift and open your chest, take your collarbones back and really open up. So come on to a little bit of a back bend. Good, and then come back up to vertical. We're gonna do that again, and you can stay down and repeat what we just did. If you want a little challenge, we're gonna try and get the hips off the ground, okay? So open up the collarbones, lift and open your chest, and then maybe lift those hips up. You gotta really dig those heels into the ground, use your arms, and then release and come back down. Good, come back to cross legs, opposite leg in the front. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, come forward, and then a little sway side to side. And again, beginning of practice, we're not forcing anything. We're trying to keep things on the milder side and have patience, trusting the process of our practice. Good, slowly start to come back up. And then from here, bring your feet in front of you, hands behind you. Press down into the heels of your hands. Take your shoulders back, open the collarbones, and we'll come into reverse tabletop from here. Slide your tailbone a little forward towards your knees and then lift up into reverse tabletop. Hold it there and lift up through your tailbone, and that opens the fronts of your hips. And then release and come down. Straighten your right leg out. Same thing with one leg straight, one leg bent. Always make sure you're first coming into that little bit of a back bend, so you take your collarbones and shoulders back, and then lift up into your reverse tabletop. Push down through that heel that's on the floor, your whole foot, and then the other heel, lift your tailbone up. And then release. Good, switch out the legs, one more round. Press down into the heels of your hands, open up through your collarbones, and when you're ready, lift up into a reverse tabletop with one leg straight. And release. Good, both legs straight, sitting up into staff pose called Dandasana. Sometimes we take forward folds here, but again, beginning of practice, we're gonna stay more neutral. Press your thighs into the ground and lift up tall through your chest. Take one more breath there. All right, go ahead and swing the legs around. Let's come into tabletop position and we'll do 5 rounds of cat-cows and then a child's pose. So take your time, work with your breath, and stay present. See if you could finish the whole cycle of inhale and the whole cycle of exhale, rather than speed yourself through these 5 rounds. And we take our time and have that sense of patience. And once you finish those 5 rounds, let's take a brief rest in child's pose. No hurry. Okay, one more breath cycle there. Okay, so if you have a blanket down, we're going to take that off and we'll come into our first downward facing dog. So go ahead and lift the hips up and back, and we're going to pause in our dog. So dog is a, tough pose if we're a little tighter in that back chain, tighter in the hamstrings, so we might want to keep a little bend in the knees here in the beginning. And then when you're ready, we're going to take a very slow pedal of the feet. And imagine that you're kind of moving through molasses and you're going very slowly. Make sure that the palms are pressing down and the arm muscles are firm to support your shoulder joints. Now, the next time the right heel comes down and the left knee bends, pause. And start to imagine you're dragging your right heel toward the back of your mat, and that'll open up a little bit more into the lower leg. And as your right heel gets heavier, could you maybe lift your right toes up and breathe? Good, and now let's switch. Left leg straight, right leg bent. Let the left heel get heavy. Start to reach your left heel toward the mat behind you and maybe lift the toes up. Firming the arms for one more breath. Follow it all the way out. And then release. Take both legs straight. Okay, keep a little bend in the knees. Roll your sit bones up. Firm your arms. And now try to let both heels come toward the floor. But if you start to round into your back, keep the knees bent. And maybe those heels start to get closer toward the floor. And we're stretching those backs of the legs. Very good. Okay, from here, let's bring knees down, take another child's pose. You were just inverted for quite a while there. Let the arms rest. All right. And then let's come back up to downward facing dog just for a transition this time. And we'll walk the feet forward to the top of the mat. And as you inhale, let's halfway lift and fold forward. Inhale, let's reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Let's have blocks at the top of the mat if they're not there. Okay. Mountain pose, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold and bring your hands to your blocks. Step your right foot to the back of your mat and then move your blocks back in line with your front foot. Drop down onto your back knee. And then from here, both blocks on the inside of your left foot, walk your left foot over to the left and widen your right knee a little bit to the right. We're in lizard pose. So now you might stay up on your hands. You might come down onto your forearms. You might use your blocks if you want to drop down. So take a couple of breaths there. So here we're opening up a little bit into that back front of the hip, but also you might be feeling this in your inner thighs. Again, we want to open the inner thighs to prepare for splits. From here, let's lift the back knee. So tuck the toes, lift the back knee. And now reach your back heel back and your front knee forward. Think about your inner thighs moving away from each other to get that stretch. Press the arms into the blocks. One more breath. And then release that back knee down. Come back up onto your hands. If you've dropped down, walk the foot back to center and come up high on your blocks. And then we're going to straighten the front leg coming into our half split. And this first round, we're going to stay upright. We're not going to fold over the leg. Spread out through your toes. Press your heel, front heel into the floor. And then bring your awareness to your left sit bone. And I want you to feel like you're drawing your left sit bone back away from your foot. And notice how that changes the sensation in the back of your leg. Drawing the sit bone back away from the heel. One more breath. And then from here, re-bend into that front knee, walk your blocks forward, lift the back knee, and we'll step it forward and fold at the top. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Okay, side two, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Left foot steps back, left knee down. Walk your blocks back and then widen your front foot, right foot to the right, left knee a little to the left. And you could stay up or you could start to drop down depending on what feels good in your body. Okay, stay for a moment with the knee down. Notice what you're feeling in the body, any stretch sensations. Nice full breath in, full breath out. Then when you're ready, tuck the back toes, lift that back knee and reach the back heel back and reach the front knee forward. So you want to think about lengthening those inseams of the legs. And then press your arms down or your palms into the blocks. Okay, knee back down, back up onto your hands. Walk the foot to center. Come back up high on your blocks. And then start to wiggle that front forward, straightening the leg. Okay, so some similarities to what we did last week. We did a lot of hamstring work, but it's good to kind of, repeat some things just to build that sense of progress in the body. Draw the sit bone back away from your heel. Holding it there, another breath or two. Spread out through your front toes. And then we're going to slowly re-bend into that front knee, lift the back knee, and then blocks go forward, step forward, and fold at the top. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, we're going to repeat and we're going to be adding things on as we go. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Right foot steps back. Move your blocks back, drop down onto your knee. Inhale, reach your arms up and hook your thumbs. Spread your fingers and lift up through your arms, through your rib cage, and maybe slide into your front knee and reach the arms up and back. Good. From here, hands down to the blocks. Straighten your front leg. Walk your blocks back. Good. Maybe slide that front heel a little forward. This time, either staying here or option to now fold over that leg, in which case maybe you even lose your blocks, depending on your body. Maybe you still need them. If you're on a hard surface, always feel free to pad the knees. Keep spreading out through your toes and drawing your sit bone back away from the heel. Okay, re-bend into the front knee. Come back up onto your blocks. Lift your back knee. Okay, so now from here, we're going to straighten the front leg. So it's a modified pyramid pose. Inner thighs hug in. And we're going to stay in that halfway up shape. We're not going to fold over the leg. So again, just practicing patience. Holding it here. One more breath. Okay, now we're gonna go through another little flow here. So we're gonna bend the front knee, drop the back knee down, but don't touch the floor. So kind of graze the floor. And then lift that leg and straighten the front leg again. And when you straighten the front leg, push your foot forward toward the top of your mat, isometric. And then again, bend the knee, lift the chest, let that knee hover above the floor, and then straighten the legs, send the hips back. And let's do that 2 more rounds. Knee hovers, chest lifts, straighten the leg, hips back. 1 more time. All right, and then bend your knee, walk your blocks forward, big step forward and fold over your legs. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart. Good, okay, let's try that on the other side. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to blocks. Left foot steps to the back of the mat, move your blocks back. Drop down onto your back knee. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Hook your opposite thumb in the front. Inhale, reach up. Deepen into your front knee. Maybe open into that crescent shape. We open the front of that hip. And then hands come down to the blocks. Lift your back knee. Straighten your front leg. So we're in modified pyramid. Full pyramid, we'll put the heel down. We'll get there eventually. And then from here, we're going to bend the back knee, drop it down, graze it above the ground, and straighten the legs. Chest reaching forward, and repeat. So as the knee drops down, the chest lifts. And then as you straighten the leg, the chest is more parallel to the ground. So we're not going into that deep fold just yet. 1 more time. Good, and then we'll bend that front knee, move your blocks forward, step forward, and fold over the legs. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Okay, going through again, we're gonna add on once again. All right, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Right foot steps back. Right knee down. Inhale, circle your arms up, hook your thumbs. Maybe slide the hips a little lower, reach up and back. Hands come down to your blocks. Half split, move your back knee back, straighten your front leg. Rebend into the front knee. Move your blocks forward. Lift your back knee. Spin the back heel down to the floor now. And make sure that you're not like too close. You're gonna feel wobbly, so you have the legs more parallel to each other. And then reach your chest forward. Okay, from here, press your back heel down and imagine you're gonna try and stretch your back heel toward the back of your mat, just like we did in our downward facing dog. So we get that deeper stretch into that back calf. All right, so now we're gonna shift a little forward, come onto the ball of your back foot, lift your heel off the ground, and then reach it back. Press the heel down and maybe lift the toes up on that back foot. And let's repeat that. Shift forward, the heel lifts, and then heel down, toes get light. 2 more. Pulse it forward, reach it back. 1 more time. Good, now keep that heel down, take your blocks on the inside of your left foot and walk your left foot over a little bit. Just like we did in lizard pose. And you can stay here, reaching your chest forward. If you want, you can start to either lower or get rid of your blocks, and we're gonna fold on the inside of the front leg. And let's see if we can keep reaching that back heel back and push your front foot forward, which will send your hips a little more back. Let's hold 1 more breath. And when you're ready, we're going to start to come back up onto the blocks if you got rid of them. Walk your foot back to center. Bend your front knee, walk your blocks forward, and let's step it forward and fold. You always keep that micro bend in the knees as you fold. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, side 2. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Left foot steps back. Left knee down. Inhale, circle your arms up, hook the opposite thumb in the front. Maybe lunge deeper, reach up into the back. Hands come down to the blocks. Shift back into half split just for a moment. And then shift it forward, lift the back knee. Spin the back heel down, and now we come into our full pyramid pose. Starting in a halfway up shape, and the blocks on either side of that front foot. And now press the back heel down and back to help wake up that lower leg, the calf, the Achilles tendon. This whole area gets very shortened and tight because of shoes. Even just a little elevation in our heel can create problems and tightness back there. All right, now we're going to start that little pulsation. So we're going to lift the heel, shift a little forward, come onto the ball of the foot, and then press that heel back and down, and maybe the toes get light. And repeat, shift forward and down. 2 more. Go ahead and now hold it down, but walk your blocks to the inside of your front foot. Walk the right foot a little to the right. And again, you might stay here. This is enough for you. Or you can lower your blocks or lose your blocks and fold on the inside of the front leg. Keep drawing your back heel back and your front foot forward. And breathe your slow, mindful breath. Follow the breath all the way in, all the way out. One more. All right, starting to walk that foot back to center. Come back to your blocks if you got rid of those, and then bend the front knee, step it forward, and fold over your legs. This time we're going to stay in the forward fold, holding on to opposite elbows. You might widen your feet a bit. And we're going to do that micro bending. So bend the knees a little bit. And then reach your sit bones up toward the ceiling to straighten. Do that 2 more rounds. Good, and after that second round, either roll up or press up. And come all the way up, reach the arms overhead. And hands to heart. Very good. Okay, grab a blanket, and we're gonna put the blanket at the top of the mat, right off the edge of the mat. And have your 2 blocks nearby. So if you're on a carpet, this isn't gonna necessarily work the same way because I'm on a carpet. If you're on like a regular floor, the blanket's gonna be able to slide, which is nice. But if you can't, no worries. We're gonna come down to kneel, and we're gonna come back into stepping the right foot forward. So come into a low lunge. Okay. Now, we're gonna come into that half split, and you're gonna put your heel on the blanket. So just be really careful if you are on a slippery floor because the blanket's gonna slide. Okay, otherwise I'm on a carpet, but I'm gonna be able to slide my foot on the blanket, which works a lot better than on the mat because the mat's sticky. Okay, so start out here, and again, we'll just cultivate some patience. Try not to jam the knee. Spread the toes and keep the inner thighs kind of hugging the midline. And then depending on where you're at, you might be able to lower your blocks. And then we're gonna do a little kind of gradual pulsation here. So I'm gonna bend the knee and come into kind of a low lunge. So it's a little lower than I might normally be. And then I'm gonna re-straighten the leg, come into half split, and then slide the heel maybe an inch or 2 forward. And this is gonna be progressing on your own. You're gonna repeat that, and you're gonna go as far as you want into a split. So we'll re-bend the knee. We're in that very low lunge. Re-straighten the leg, and then slide the heel out a little bit more, okay? So once you feel like you've gone as far as you can go, that's where you're gonna stay. But if you can, you're gonna keep going. And at some point, you're like, okay, now I can't really go any farther. If you're low enough, I'm gonna just show this because some of the people doing the recording might be able to put the block underneath the back of your upper leg, under the hamstring, and then you support yourself in your split. Keep those inner thighs hugging in, chest lifting. And if you want a little challenge, you can take your arms and reach them up, try to touch the ceiling. And then release the hands down. Start to slowly slide that leg back. Be very careful, very patient with yourself. And then take a child's pose. And I like to just put my blocks under my hands and I get a nice stretch on the arms. One more breath. And then come back up, blocks up on that higher level, and we'll start the other side. Stepping into your lunge, and then put your heel on the blanket, and we come into the half split. And then just stay there for a moment or two, spreading the toes, heels pressing down, And we have that micro bend in the knee. And then it's your progression. Listen to your body and be patient with your body. So we'll bend, bring the foot down, come into that lower lunge, and gradually you might move your blocks forward. And we straighten the leg back to half split, and then slide the heel a little forward. And then repeat. Bend, straighten, and slide. How many times you do that is up to you. And then at some point, depending on how low you are, you might be able to get a block underneath your hamstring. Lift up through your chest, hug your inner thighs towards each other, and maybe you reach one arm or both arms up. And then release. My second side, I can only do that for a short time. Okay, step it back and back into your child's pose. Check in with yourself. How patient were you with yourself? All right, and slowly start to come up. Okay, so from here, we're gonna make if you have like a couple of pillows, we could use that for a bolster. If you don't, you're gonna use your blocks and you're gonna put your blanket on top, okay? So I'm gonna grab a bolster because I have that, but if you don't, you can either use a couple of pillows or you can use the bolster block setup, blanket block setup. Put that setup in the middle of your mat, and we're gonna sit on it. I'll give you a moment to get that ready. Okay, so the key is we just want the hips a little elevated. So you could use 2 bed pillows here, a yoga bolster if you have one, or the blocks. Okay, then we're gonna come down on our backs into supported bridge with the hips up onto the support. Okay, so this is another version of splits. Since we're all warmed up for it, let's bring the right knee into the chest. And if you can, let's straighten the left leg. You can adjust being more forward or back on your support if you need to. And then let's straighten the right leg and hold behind the back of the right leg. Keep your foot gently flexed. Let's hold that for another breath or two. And we're gonna have the opportunity to deepen this if you want. Again, practicing patience, no force. So from here, we're gonna take that left leg and lift it off the ground, maybe like 2 or 3 feet. So lift it up, but not all the way. And then with that leg lifted, you might be able to draw the right leg a little more toward your chest. And maybe you walk your hands up to your calf or your ankle or your foot. And we're still kind of letting that left leg be lifted. Bend your elbows out toward the sides. You can stay here or start to let that left leg come down toward the floor. And it may or may not make it. You might be able to get your heel to the ground. You might need to bend your knee a little bit, which I do. And then let's hold that for another breath. Your thigh and your belly are kind of drawing towards each other a little bit. Again, feet are gently flexed. And then let's slowly release that leg, bend both knees, and pause in your supported bridge. Nice full breath in, full breath out. And then let's try other side. Bring the left knee in, and let's just hug the knee first before we go into the hamstring stretch. And then the right leg, you could straighten that right leg out. Reach that heel toward the top of your mat. And that also helps open the front of the hip up. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and extend the leg, interlace your hands behind the back of the thigh. Hold it there another breath or two before we deepen this. And of course, you can always stay here. This is a nice place to be as well. And then if you want to go ahead and deepen, let's lift the right leg off the ground, which gives us a little more leeway to pull that left leg toward the chest. Maybe you're going to walk your hands up to your calf or your ankle or your foot. And then hold it there for a moment or two with the other leg elevated. Let's bend the elbows toward the sides, which opens the chest and the upper back. And then some of you might want to go ahead and try to bring that foot, the right foot, to the floor. Maybe you need to bend it just to get that foot down. And then hold it there, another breath. All right, go ahead and release both feet flat. Readjust if you're sliding off your props. Come back to supported bridge. Okay, we're not quite done here yet. Now, hopefully your surface is soft enough that this will work for you. We're going to bring the knees both up and in toward the chest. And as you bring the knees up and in toward the chest, you get a little traction to your lower back. It opens up those lower vertebrae. Hold there for a moment. And again, this might be a nice place to hang out. If you want to go further, we're going to straighten the legs and let the legs fall toward the chest and the head. And then we get both legs open. You can hold your thighs, your calves, your feet, whatever works. And bend the elbows toward the sides. Keep the crown of the head extending. And then maybe try to straighten those legs. So they're like 90% straight. Just that little micro bend. And feel that stretch through the lower back. One more breath. And then we'll re-bend the knees and set the feet flat and pause. Full breath in, full breath out. Okay, let's go ahead, lift the hips and move those props out of the way. Whatever you were using, come back down all the way onto your back. Keep a strap nearby, you may want that. And we'll finish with a progressive twist here. So we'll take the hips a little bit over toward your left and drop the knees to the right. So we're starting in a very simple twist. Knees might be stacked up. If you need to, you could add a block under your knees. And then let's take arms out to a T. Head could be neutral or looking toward your knees or away from your knees, whatever feels good. And then take the top leg and see if you could extend that leg and bring the foot to the floor so the knees are kind of crossed and the legs are still bent, but we're deepening it a little bit. And at any time, you can stop and not go farther. Again, have patience and breathe. The more we work with that soft breath, the body feels safer and is more likely to release some of its tension. Now you could stay here, or now we're going to straighten that top leg. And maybe you hold the foot with your right hand. Now you also have a strap there if you want. You can put the strap around your foot. And again, breathing here. Now, if you want, straighten the other leg and be on that hip. So you're on the right outer hip. Let your belly turn a little more toward your left. One more breath. And then if you have the hold of the foot, let that go. Stack the knees back up. And then make your way all the way back to the center and even yourself out. Okay, so we'll try the other side. Shift your hips a little to the right and bring your knees over to the left, starting with your knees stacked up and your arms out to a T. And again, you might need some props there under your knees, between your knees, depending on how this feels on your lower back. And again, you can always stay at any point and not progress. Be patient with where you are in this moment. Now, if you want to go a little further, we're going to take that top leg and see if you might extend it a little bit, bringing the foot to the floor. And then the knees are no longer stacked, but the legs are still bent in this next phase. That might be a good place to stay. So our patience requires our wisdom and our connection to ourselves so we know where it's really appropriate for us to go. If we're impatient, we're not going to be in our wisdom and we're just going to push past our body's limitation. Now, maybe we're going to straighten that leg and possibly hold the foot. And maybe use the strap if that's better for you. Full breath in, full breath out. And then maybe straightening the other leg. So left leg out, both legs straight, both feet flexed, and breathe. Last breath. And then slowly let go of the foot. Bend both knees, stack them up again for just a breath. And then go ahead and slowly, mindfully make your way all the way back to the center and even out your hips. Take a pause. Okay, let's bring both knees into the chest and rock some on the lower back, circle things out. When we're tight in that back chain, and even if we're not, I'm pretty open in my back chain, but we might still feel this in our lower back. So we work with our hamstrings, it can really translate into the lower back. So give that a good massage by rocking, rolling. And if you want, you could move it into a happy baby, either holding on to your ankles or your feet, but keeping that lower back down and not kind of rounding and tucking under. Okay, and then we're gonna get ready for Shavasana. So if you still have that prop set up, so I have the bolster, but if you still have whatever you were using, let's put that underneath the backs of the knees. Because like I said, it'll help your lower back relax after all the hamstring work. So let's get the bolster underneath, or whatever you have underneath your hamstrings. So rather than just your knees, bring it up a little higher. And that'll help that lower back relax. And I'm going to have you guys stay in your Shavasana. I'm going to come on up so I can share our final reading in a few moments. So make any of those last minute adjustments so you feel comfortable. And then connecting to the ground, that pace of nature. And the pace of nature has its own time, its own unfolding. And that frequency of nature is so healing for us. So we know that things have frequencies. Our cell phone has a frequency, right? Electricity has a frequency. And these are man-made frequencies. There are signals on the radio, and that's a frequency. So man-made frequencies are potentially more harmful because they're not from nature. But when we spend time putting our feet on the ground, feeling the sun on our skin, being in nature, we know we feel that sense of healing that comes from nature itself. So come into your very soft breath in your belly. Following your breath all the way in, all the way out. And our reading today is written by my teacher, T.S. Little. And he uses some metaphor here for our yoga practice and kind of circles back to this idea of patience. It's called Don't Push the River. The path of practice is a long and arduous journey. And he's talking here about spiritual practice or yoga practice. While we are all born, it takes many years to fully incarnate. It begins when we leave the aquatic interior of the uterine cave, impelled to breathe, to stand, to speak. And at the start, nothing makes sense, and we experience the world as a kind of wilderness. As time goes by, if fortunate, we find a trail or two to follow. We then undertake a long and winding pilgrimage, not outward toward the bright and shiny things of the world, but inward toward a still and imperturbable center. The contour lines we traverse are unique to each of us. There are many turns of the path, including steep grades, switchback climbs, and rock scrambles. En route, there are many thresholds to cross, many gates to enter. But the most challenging is to march forth unsure of the direction, the distance, or the destination. The soul's journey. The soul's journey does not come with a built-in GPS. Like an 18th century explorer voyaging through new frontiers, on this path, you never know just where you are. Once departed from the confines of the familiar, there really is no going back. Like a migrating songbird, you have to hone your body and all your senses and follow a thing that can never be seen. Perhaps you follow a subtle vibration, a sutra, a few scribbled lines from the old masters, but no one can tell you where to go or how to get there. If anyone predicts the journey's end, know it to be but sleight of hand, like the conjuring of some magician. What you need most is to trust the long arc of time, assured that the path will reveal itself. And when you get flustered by the pace of your progress and are eager to get ahead sooner, know that in the lore of Indian mythology, one day in the life of the creator is equal to 4.3 billion years. So proceed with great patience. Move at the pace of the growth of trees, the speed of the moonrise, the slow drift of shadow across your morning porch. Any urgency will confuse your breath and distract your awareness. Don't push your own river. Follow its course. Trust in its flow. And while holding true to your center, let it take you. So we'll take another minute or so to continue to rest. With every exhale, soften more deeply into the support of the ground. So we'll take our time now and start to come back to awareness. Just noticing the effect of this practice of patience today. Slowing down, being present, and not rushing the process. Take your time and start to make some small, gentle movements. Let there be no hurry as you start to move a little more. Maybe then pause on your side. Just take a breath or two there. And after you've had your moment on your side, slowly coming up, use your hands. Try not to hurry, and we'll come back up into a seated posture. So we'll sit up nice and tall. Take another moment to close the eyes or find a focal point and come into your breath. Try not to rush through the breath. Softly breathe all the way in. Pause when you get full, let's say about 90% full, and then exhale slowly all the way out. And again, inhale when you're ready, all the way in. That sense of the rib cage expanding, the diaphragm descending. Pausing at the top before following your exhale all the way out. And let's do that one more round. And after that next exhale, excuse me, just return to a normal breath. Having practiced patience today, you're on your way to enlightenment. So we're going to bring our palms together in front of our heart space. And we'll take a nice inhale, lifting up through your heart. Exhale, bowing inward. Namaste.